Good evening. My name is Terry Alabama, Executive Director of Housing for New Hope, an organization here in town that works to prevent and end homelessness through increased access to health care, housing, and integrated services. I'm also one of the goats in the flock here at PIlgrim. So I welcome you to our church as well, and I want to thank Tom Harris, who is providing congregational leadership for this series, and also our pastors Carla and Ginger for their leadership that makes these kind of conversations possible to come out of our congregation. So we're thankful for you all. Appreciate that very much. I'm here to introduce our last speaker, Kimberly Crowe, and at some point while Kim is talking, she's going to thank Housing for New Hope. I know she is. I'm telling you that right away. and I want you to know that I appreciate getting thanked. The organization, we work hard at what we do, and it's nice to hear kind words, but that's not the reason I suggested that she come and speak to you all tonight. I suggested she come because I think her story is compelling, and I think it's about the interrelationship of health care, the need for health care, and the need for housing, and the need for employment to make all those pieces work together so that you can have a life that resembles something you can take pride in yourself and be a part of. I also, more importantly, asked Kimberly to be here tonight because there are plenty of days in my work that I really want to quit. Like today, I just wanted to walk out, really. And I think about people like Kim, and this word was up, a synonym at least was up on Stan's PowerPoint, is Kim has resilience. It's resilience to stay on task and to stay after something. And because of that, she brings to me, and I think Mel, you mentioned that as well, what do people bring to us that there's a profound ministry that happens there, and she is one of the people that keeps me, and I think will also keep you kind of in the hunt to figure out how we continue to work with those who are homeless and in poverty and create more kinds of possibilities for them through the various things that we've been mentioning tonight. So Kimberly, if you will come up and talk to folks, please make her welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Kimberly Crowe, and I am a 32-year-old mother of 2 boys named Keon and Jaden, and I was a former client of Housing for New Hope. What I want you to know is homelessness could happen to anyone. It could happen to you. You may be employed today and become unemployed with no notice, and this can lead to homelessness and hopelessness very quickly. I became homeless in 2008. I worked at Specialized Mobility in Chapin, South Carolina for 7 years and then was terminated. At the time of my termination, I was suffering from a high-risk pregnancy at the stage of 3 months. My body was treating my baby like an infection. The baby was rejecting my body and my body was rejecting the baby, which is called self-abortion. My kid's father lost his job during my pregnancy as well. When I was terminated, I did not know anything about unemployment and was not aware that I had to call or follow up every week. So I went several months with no income or resources because I had never been in this situation before. When I see homeless people prior to me becoming homeless, I assume they were either drug addicts or alcoholics, which I was, stereotyping. I never knew what homeless was. Now that it has happened to me, I know that it can happen to anyone. You have attorneys, doctors, teachers who are having their water, power shut off every day who are becoming homeless as well. Prior to me losing my job, prior to me losing my home, I lost my job, my pride, my car, and my life. Regardless what you are going through, you still have to smile and how you're truly feeling. You are afraid of being judged and do not want to worry your kids. So you try to hide your feelings and what you're really going through. I was in and out of the hospital due to my high-risk pregnancy and early labor. The stress was unbearable on me and my oldest son, Keon. Keon, who was 6 years old at the time, was acting out in school because there was no stability. We never knew where our next meal was going to come from. When we were evicted, we went to stay with a friend for a month, but she said we had to leave due to the increase in bills when you have extra people inside of your home, and her apartment manager also found out. Also, my pregnancy was stressing my friend out, being that I was in and out of the hospital a lot, and once again, they stopped my labor. I lived in my car with my 6-year-old son for a couple of weeks until we were no longer able to tolerate it. I then moved to Rockingham, North Carolina on February 14th, 2009 in hopes of going into my own place. Then arrived there to only find out the person in charge of the housing authority was charged with embezzlement. So I was still homeless. So I ended up moving in with my mom and stepdad and residing with them in their 3-bedroom home. It was hard living with my mom. I had so many emotions to deal with because of what had happened to me, and now I'm living under someone else's rules, especially after being independent. Homeless, jobless, penniless can take you hopelessness very quickly. I was not used to living under someone else's rules and conditions. Don't get me wrong, I was very appreciative and grateful, but my mom is very strict and controlling. And I got tired of her treating me like a baby. And I'm 32 years old and I'm still the baby. I know that she cares, loves, and only wants what's best for me. While I was homeless, I was very depressed and sad a lot of the time. April finally came and the baby was born at Moore Regional Hospital with over 25 medical conditions and weighing only 3 pounds upon his birth at 39 weeks. I suffered from blood loss and was hemorrhaging and had several blood clots that were bigger than the baby itself. I just felt like so much weight was on my shoulders and that my storm was never going to end. Even though I wanted to question God, I never lost faith. I continued to pray, no matter how hard it got or was. My baby Jaden was no bigger than my hand. It tore me up on the inside to see such an innocent gift from God go through so much and have so many tubes and still fight for his life. I said, if my baby can fight and fight for his last breath, I can continue to fight with him. And that's when I promised God, because I was always terrified of water, so I never got baptized. So that's when I said, you know, if you save my son's life, I'm going to go and get baptized. So that's what I did. I went and got baptized. And I try to live right, even though, you know, the devil provokes you sometimes. They say when it rains, it pours. And I found this to be very true. But with every cloud, there is a silver lining. God knew what was in store for me, and I say that I lost my job and home for a reason. My reason is my baby Jaden. He knew what was going to happen to him. A week later, Jaden was then transferred via helicopter to Levine's Children's Hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina. I left in the helicopter with Jaden and left my oldest son with my mom and stepdad. I knew that Keon was in good hands, and they would provide him with the love and the necessities he needs and requires that I could not offer him at that time. Once Jaden arrived in Charlotte, the doctors referred to my son as a mystery. He was not a textbook case. They searched every textbook, could not find anything wrong with him. And several doctors were working on this mystery diagnosis, which left them wondering and pondering, why is he suffering from liver failure? Why is his body temperature not staying up? Why is he blind? Why can't he scab and stop bleeding? What is his problem? I used to blame myself for his condition because of the amount of stress I was under during my pregnancy. Being homeless with my baby Jaden made me question God, question others' love for me, and made me hate the mothers who had healthy babies. I would see them with their babies, and some of them were not properly caring for their child, but I had to suffer. I wonder why I had to endure so much. These were just some of the feelings I had during this crisis in my life. I cried when I was alone. I felt alone, and I felt tired, and I wanted to give up, but I never did. I continued to fight and continued to pray. I wanted all of this to end and I wanted my baby home, but knew that we did not have a home to go to. Jaden went into his surgery and had a single line placed in his heart due to he was suffering from clotting problems. Whenever people came to see him, I told them not to say, "that poor baby." Speak life into my son, not death. After about a week in Charlotte, Jaden then was transferred to Duke University Hospital in Durham, North Carolina. Duke had a GI specialist that could perform a liver transplant on my baby, but only one problem. We have to wait for another child to pass away in order to receive that liver. While Jaden was in the hospital, Duke placed me in Wingate Inn, then the Millennium, and then at the Ronald McDonald House for the remainder of Jaden's stay. I was happy. I had a place to lay my head that I could consider my own, so I felt like I was in a castle when I was actually in just a hotel room, but it was a roof over my head. I was happy to be back on my own, but not under these conditions. While we had to wait on the liver, Jaden was discharged and back to my mom's house we went, and her rules again. My kids and me were on vacation for the summer, and we were getting ready to go to Carowinds when I received a phone call that a child passed away, and that they are not sure if it's a match, but we have to be there in case it is, in order for him to be able to receive that liver. If not, we would have to start all over again. Again, I had to leave my oldest with his aunt and didn't have time to take him back to my mom. And Jaden and I were back on the road again, kind of like the Willie Nelson song. You know, like Willie Nelson. I had been awake 48 hours, and Jaden received his liver and was doing well. Jaden's heart had stopped beating for 7 minutes while he was on the operating room table. Jaden was 3 months old and 8 pounds and was the smallest and the youngest in the country to have a liver transplant. Also, he was the 4th case in the country with his medical condition and the only one to survive it. That was the longest 8 hours of my life. I resided at the Ronald McDonald House in Durham for 9 months, and I tried to drag it out to keep from going back to Rockingham to my mom's house. I made sure I something up for everything that we could possibly. Because even though I shared it with other people, it was still like being on my own and in my own home. Jada stayed at the Ronald McDonald House with me and was receiving several therapies from occupational therapy, speech, feeding, and medical treatments. January 7, 2010, we were on our way back to Rockingham again and to my mom's house. When I was bringing Jaden to Duke for a visit, we stayed overnight at the Ronald McDonald House. I was speaking with one of the employees, and that employee referred me to the Rapid Rehousing Program, also known as Housing for New Hope. I never knew that a program like Housing for New Hope existed. I spoke with one of the representatives from Housing for New Hope, and they scheduled an interview and told me what was needed to qualify and the documentation that was needed to provide to prove that I was homeless. By April 10th of 2010, I was going into my own apartment in Durham, my home, which I still reside in today. I had never been so happy in my life. We needed to live in Durham close to Duke University Hospital because of Jada's medical conditions and the treatments he was receiving. Housing for New Hope paid for my rental truck in order to get my household items and goods out of storage in Columbia, South Carolina. They assisted me with the deposit for my lights, my utilities, assisted me with some household items for my home, security deposit, and first month rent for my apartment. Also, Housing for New Hope teaches you how to budget, how to become more responsible, and they also set you up on a budget plan to get you prepared to take over your own rent and utilities, which was really helpful. I was looking forward to taking over my own rent by summer. I was offered a job with a very well-known company, only to be told that I needed to be at home with my disabled son. I did not give up on employment and was working by June, but come to find out I was laid back off in January because they found the contract that was cheaper. They didn't want to continue to pay us the amount of money we were making. So I placed a call to one of the representatives at Housing for New Hope, and they assisted me with gaining employment, which is at Ready Care Movers. Housing for New Hope helped me gain my confidence, self-worth, and as well as hope again. Their hearts are bigger than gold, and they are truly a wonderful team. I'm glad to have met such wonderful people. They allowed me to have my kids under one roof again and something to call my own. Just remember that homelessness can happen to you, and don't ever be afraid to ask for help, because I allowed my pride to get in my way. I know how to love again, and I truly love God for being there for me. I'm sure my story has played out in many families in our community. This is a very worthwhile and needed program. Without Housing for New Hope, there is no hope for many families. Today, I still reside in the same apartment and still paying my own rent. I currently work for Aetna RX Home Delivery in Cary, North Carolina, in the pharmacy department, and I currently work as well for Ready Care Movers in Durham, North Carolina. I plan on going back to school to get my associate's degree in health information technology in the fall. Jaden is 3 years old and he's doing well. And he also gets into everything. He's making up for the lost time that he spent lying in a hospital bed. Jaden did have an embolization scheduled for this week, which means the neurosurgeon would go in and glue the aneurysm that's currently in his brain to try to shrink it before he can begin radiation treatments. I received a call yesterday from the physician assistant, and she explained that Jaden is no longer a candidate for the embolization. Reason being, it can cause him to suffer bleeding, and due to his liver numbers, it can cause instability of the liver and can cause his liver to not function properly anymore. So then we're right back at square one. Jaden will start receiving radiation treatments immediately, and this will be an ongoing process for the next couple of years to try to get rid of the radiation and the dead vessels in his brain. We will continue to pray, and once this is all over, he can continue to live a normal life, and maybe we can move closer to family, because I have not lived near family in over 13 years. Keon is doing well in school, and he enjoys the community in which we reside. He has so many friends, their neighbors, that assist me with Keon whenever Jaden is admitted in the hospital. We are looking forward to moving into our own house, maybe in October of next year, once I get these student loans paid off, and the hospital debt, because I didn't have any health insurance at the time, because the boys are really excited about getting their own rooms. The point of my story is poverty and homelessness can happen to anyone. It can happen to you. To make ends meet, I am working 2 jobs. I am still struggling, and I am still living below poverty level, even with the experience and the education I do have. I am not complaining, but I am still grateful. It is hard working 6 days a week and trying to be a mother at the same time, and only being allowed to be able to spend just an hour with my kids, and that's just getting them dressed in the morning. I tell my boys every day, college is not an option, the military is not an option, it is mandatory in my household. That's the same thing my father told me, and they do not have any other choice. I want my kids to be better than me. I tell them that every day. Do not be like me and your father. Be better. Strive for more. Never settle for less. If a girl comes your way, run the opposite way. You take care of your business. You make money first, chase women later. That is a priority. Women loves money. So it's hard trying to feed 2 growing boys and clothe them. Those are the necessities that I'm having to work so hard for every day. I hope that by speaking up here tonight, you might help make it possible for others to find places they can afford to rent, jobs that pay them enough, and health care that makes a difference. Housing for New Hope made all of this possible, and without Housing for New Hope, there is no hope. And I would like to say thank you for allowing me to tell my story and the impact this program has had on my life. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly, for bringing us a real live person who is wonderful.
Thank you.
And we want to open the floor to questions if anybody has any questions.